Hey guys, it's Chris here. We are doing, I guess, our coming out stories, or if you haven't come out, I guess your thoughts or fears on coming out. For me, I came out, it was a two-step process for me. I had initially came out as liking girls when I was about 21, so I was about like a sophomore in college, I believe. Um, Coming out to my friends was not a big deal. They were very accepting, and I had no fears that they wouldn't be accepting. Um, but when I came out to my family, as it wasn't like extraordinarily bad. But there were times where we had some difficulties. I remember it being a little bit difficult for me when I was trying to kind of introduce my girlfriends to my parents. It was a little bit hard for them because they were just trying to get used to it. And, you know, my parents are kind of conservative and they have their views. Some of it is, religious and whatnot. But for the most part, I think they they were they were fine with it. It just they needed time to kind of get used to it. And my mom, she had mentioned before, like when I first came out to her, that she had kind of already sensed it, but she didn't. I guess she really needed to hear it from me for it to be like if it was factual or not. But for me, I don't like to put too many labels on things. As I like girls, but I like people in general, and so I don't want to like limit myself to who I feel connected to or who I don't feel connected to. So in that case, I guess some people call it pansexual or whatever. So, but again, like I don't like labels. So yeah, I came out around college, and then it wasn't until about a year later that I came out to my parents as my parents and my friends as being transgender, and that proved to be a lot more difficult as far as family. And most of my friends were pretty accepting of it, and there were only maybe a couple people that I may have lost in the process as far as friends go. But I think being transgender, it's a whole another step. It's a very, I think it's a more complex process than just coming out as liking the same sex, or you know. So yeah, coming out to my friends as being trans wasn't that hard. I think I had already kind of talked to them about it. I had actually came out to them before my family because I knew that coming out to my family would be a nightmare, but I was hoping that they would be accepting of it anyway because I was their child. I came out to my family. I wrote a letter, actually, and surprisingly, I thought that writing a letter would be like the best way to come out to them, but I guess it wasn't. My parents were pretty upset with the way that I handled it because I wrote a letter. But for me, I felt the best way to explain everything was by writing down things. And for me, communicating verbally isn't as easy as it is for me to write it down. So there was a lot of, as any transition, any coming out, there's always going to be some sort of pain, mentally, physically, and emotionally, psychologically. There was a lot of hurt involved with my family and I, and it kind of forced me to have to move out of the house and live with my friends, parents, and for a while until I could get out on my own and find an apartment with somebody else. And while that was going on, I think overall, even though it kind of set my family and I apart, the distance kind of made us, be able to focus on ourselves and kind of reevaluate everything. And I think it's actually helped me in the process, to be honest. Sometimes when there's a whole bunch of things happening all at once, you kind of need some space, and I think that's what we needed. And I still love my parents, like, we still communicate, and I feel it's getting better in the process with my family, but yeah, the times that were spent while I was coming out, while I was transitioning, were not the greatest, just because there was a lot of fear involved and a lot of anger and emotional hurt, and sometimes it got to the point where it was a little bit physical, but I'm not going to go into detail about that. But I mean, right now is what matters most, and right now we're doing a lot better. My mom actually is on her last chemo treatment. She was diagnosed with breast cancer this past year. She's had surgery, but because of the type of cancer it was, she had to have chemo done. And right now she actually, next week is going to be her last chemo treatment. And it's kind of, in a weird way, kind of brought us a little bit closer. And I mean, there are things that, we're always going to have arguments and disagreements, and there's always going to be some days where it just feels like, why are we still doing this? But I think that's what makes us grow as a person and as a family. And I don't regret coming out. I don't regret transitioning at the time that I did. I don't regret the, how the time span between when I came out to when I started hormones to when I got surgery. I don't regret any of those things, because I knew I had to do it for myself. And I think for most people, I know in my family, it was more of the fear of what would happen to me in dealing with society and in dealing with all the things that that would happen in the world, because the world can be a really bad place. But there are also some good things that we can hold on to, and I knew I had a good support system in my friends. To be honest, my friends are what got me through starting this transition, and without them I probably wouldn't have made it this far. And I'm gonna have to make a second part to this video, because my story is kind of long, sorry, but for me it was a little, I think, more complex, because there was a lot of factors involved. So give me a second, I'll make the second part of this video.